NFL's Greatest Moments presents the men who played with passion.
Pro football is a game of unabashed joy.
Let's see. Nope.
What's the matter, clown boy? You need to make a call, but you don't have the change. Just use 1-800-COLLECT. Go ahead, make some calls. You'll save a bundle. That's great. Mine's 1-800-COLLECT. 10 cents a minute every evening.
My job is to compare products. And it's not often that I'm surprised. So when Head & Shoulders went up against the leading prescription brand, I expected the prescription to be better. But it isn't. A study proves Head & Shoulders is effective against dandruff. I found out there's a microscopic fungus associated with dandruff, and Head & Shoulders helps kill it. Helps stop flakes before they even start. Not even the expensive prescription works better. You may never see flakes again. I don't.
Some players spend Sundays like they're simply punching a clock. And then there's John Randall, who cleans clocks.
How would you describe, John, your state of mind before a game?
Bizarre, very bizarre.
If a psychiatrist suddenly came down on the field, right 5 minutes before kickoff, and grabbed you and
First of all,
examined
he couldn't grab me because he'd get punched up right there on the field. He probably want to lock me up, put me away for a couple of years or so.
Quarterbacks also wouldn't mind seeing Randall in a padded cell.
I said, John, you got to slow down. You'll burst. You know, you literally, your body will just explode. You know? I mean, he goes.
I think John Randall is the most underrated player to ever play a game of football. And I can say that because I go against him twice a year.
I don't think there's anybody better in terms of rushing the passer and putting pressure on the quarterback from the inside.
He's a guy that's just 100 miles an hour every single play. And the thing about it that I think is great is he's just out there like he's just a little kid having the time of his life.
Perhaps acting like a kid on the football field is his way of compensating for a tough childhood that created the man he is.
You said it's something about the way you grew up. Why is that?
Because
Why
I think
not?
I grew up really hard.
What kind of house did you live in when you were a
It
kid?
was kind of like a 2-bedroom house. No hot and cold running water, outdoor bathroom. We had cracks in it. In the house,
So you had like an outhouse?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. 1-seater outhouse. Some people have 2-seaters. That's a luxury. They have 2-seaters.
His success is a result of hard work. He came to the Vikings in 1990 as an undrafted, undersized defensive tackle. But he bulked up from 240 to 280 pounds, surviving to make the team, and then thriving to become one of the league's most feared pass rushers. He learned how to fight off constant double teams.
Come on, win the field. Man, block me by yourself.
His life is like some rags to riches Hollywood drama. And perhaps that's why much of his time off the field is spent in front of a movie screen.
How often do you go to the movies?
I try to go at least once a week.
Well, let's say if you were going to play the Green Bay Packers tomorrow, and you were going to go into this video store and pick out something to watch, what would you pick out?
I had to go to my favorite movie, The Road Warrior.
The Lord Humongous, the warrior of the wasteland.
Lord Humongous! Lord Humongous! Ruler of the wasteland! Just tell everybody, you know, I'm a road warrior. You know, I can't be stopped.
Since he came into the league, no interior lineman has recorded more sacks than John Randall. When he's not shooting down Cowboys on the field, he's tuning them in off it.
Have you seen Tombstone? You watch Tombstone, it's great stuff to say to offensive linemen.
Is that the one with Val Kilmer?
I'm your Huckleberry.
He's quoting the Bible, Revelations.
He's quoting the Bible. Revelations.
Beware of the pale horse.
Behold, the pale horse. The man who sat on him was death. And hell followed with him.
You tell him I'm coming, and hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
When you have that on your face, do you ever line up opposite an opponent and somebody look at you and they sort of do a double take and they say, what the hell, what's going on with this guy?
They look at me like, you want something? Yeah, about to get on your ass and stuff like that, you know.
They call me Psycho. They put me in this ward. They call me Psycho.
You can't go out there and try to be a nice guy. Because, I mean, football, nice guys finish last.
We do a little jamming and get him to hold the ball, then Johnny Randall can get home free. I don't think the guy can block him.
John Randall is a paradox.
Only want to be with you.
How can a man so playful be so brutal? A man so vicious be so loving?
If you're listening, hi, Brittany. Daddy loves you.
In the end, perhaps it's the yin and the yang of John Randall that makes him one of the most interesting, as well as one of the best players in the game.
If we were going to make a movie about your life, who would you pick to play you?
That'd be some cool-looking guy. Cool, hardcore guy.
I'll be damned. Bing Rames
Yeah, he can play me
as John Randall.
Good choice.
Ask any pro why he does it. It's the ring. And now, the National Football League has authorized Balfour, maker of Super Bowl rings, to create the first officially licensed team ring with authentic enamel gemstone logo. Call this toll-free number and you'll receive a free color brochure and a sizing kit to guarantee a perfect fit. Now, players and fans can share this ultimate symbol of achievement. Call 1-800-257-5700 for your free information.
Mirabale means fashion. Mirabale means style. Mirabale means shoes. For fun, for the future, for the entire family. Mirabale shoes in Orland Park.
Wins the game, but I agree with Coach. I think it'll be a low-scoring, close football game with LSU winning.
And then Monday, Lee goes to Birmingham to lecture us on the SEC tiebreak.
Well said, my friend, but you never know because of the fact here. You won't believe that Alabama last week gave up over 500 yards of defense by a football team that wasn't that good. Remember, that's the first time since 1991 that they did that. They got to get focused or they won't get by this one.
College game day is on. Saturdays at 11 a.m. Eastern.
Welcome back to Passion Players.
In the town of Kent, Washington, on a street named Temperance, dwells the oldest member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Morris Badgerow, also known as Red.
A lot of people think the game has changed. The game has not changed one tiny bit. You have to lick the guy across the line from you to win the football game. You can't help to win it. You've got to outblock him. If you can't outblock him, you're going to lose.
Red speaks with an authority that stems from his youth, when he was the greatest schoolboy athlete in the state of Washington. A three-sport star, Red went to the University of Southern California on a basketball scholarship, but within weeks earned a spot as a pass-catching end on the football team. At USC, he also crossed paths with the first in a long line of American icons, playing alongside a tackle named Marion Morrison. later to be known as John Wayne. In 1926, he squared off against Knute Rockne in the first ever USC Notre Dame game, a heartbreaking 13-12 loss for the Trojans. Red and Rockne would meet again, but for now, it was off to the big city. It was the heart of the Roaring '20s. Calvin Coolidge was president, the Charleston was the rage, and Red joined another Red, Red Grange, on the New York Football Yankees. But the team would fold after just one season. So he switched to his other full-time job, playing right field for the St. Louis Browns, where he had a memorable encounter with Babe Ruth.
If you throw your glove at a baseball and you hit it, it goes as a 3-base hit. Well, Babe Ruth's up there. He hit him high. So I back up against the right field fence. Here comes the ball. It's way up in the air, and I was going to try to hit it with my glove, but I missed it. He would have only had 59 home runs if I had him, see?
But the good times didn't last. In 1929, the stock market crashed, and so did Red's batting average. He gave up baseball and journeyed again to New York, where he signed with the football Giants for the sum of $150 a game.
Well, there wasn't any money. Nobody had money, see? So I had nothing to do with it. But it was more money than not a job at all. Hell, so many people just went along that stage of the Depression with nothing. Damn lucky to get enough to eat.
To raise money for the unemployed, Giants owner Tim Mara organized a charity game in 1930 between his squad and an all-star team of Knute Rockne's former players. A game in which the NFL's Giants were heavy underdogs.
Well, Christ, it was a crime to play the game. And the people in New York, the way it seemed to me, actually thought that those Notre Dame guys had a chance to win. Hell, they had no more chance than a jackrabbit. They were so dumbfounded that there was guys that could do what we were doing to them.
The Giants' victory helped open the eyes of the public to the pro game. Red went on to play with and against the veritable who's who of the NFL's early stars, like Johnny Blood, Ernie Nevers, and Sammy Baugh. But who was the best?
I'd take Nagurski. Oh, you couldn't, you're crazy if you run into him. My God, I never got hit so hard in my life. Most all the time you'd wait till he got alongside of you and then tip him over sideways. That's the truth. He was some man.
Red not only saw history firsthand, he also made it, scoring the first touchdown in a championship game. He was also considered the finest two-way end of his era.
I don't know whether there's enough football players out there to realize that how much it kind of meant to get to play both ways. It seemed like I know, I used to say, if you're not out there playing, Jesus, maybe I get released tonight.
Red had the misfortune of finishing his career 27 years before the Hall of Fame was even built. When it was, his career had long been forgotten.
Only thing I know that a lot of guys went in there that I outplayed so many times it wasn't even funny. I just have to laugh when I think, geez, they put that donkey in there. He can't even feel on what the hell's going on.
In 1981, after a record 45-year wait, the senior selection committee elected Red to the Hall of Fame.
There is no way under the sun that you could ever figure how something could be so good for you. It was wonderful. The greatest thing that ever happened to me. This is absolutely the greatest thrill of my life. It paid off to work hard, to work real hard. You got to have the desire. Desire there that you want to play and you're going to play come hell or high water. Jesus, just to get to tackle a guy good and hard, get to the passer and rush him, great. And then you have to have determination. And above all, character. If you haven't got the character, forget it. I've been one of the real lucky fellows. Nobody could have got the treatment I got. I couldn't ask for a better life regardless.
Neil, did you eat your chunky soup?
Huh?
Neil, did you eat your chunky soup?
Yeah, man. Chunky sirloin burger with loads of vegetables and lots of beefy sirloin burgers, grilled to perfection.
Neil, did you eat your chunky soup?
Why do you keep saying that? Mama.
Gotta make sure you eat good.
Campbell's Chunky Sirloin Burger.
It's loaded with beef.
I left my heart, and that's my song. And I've sung for kings and queens and 7 American presidents. It's wonderful to have everybody recognize you. Will shine for me.
Beautiful, Mr. Bennett. But if you're going to write a check for these CDs, I still need to see some ID.
Use the Visa card that automatically deducts from your checking account at the millions of places Visa's accepted.
I left my ID in
San Francisco. The Visa check card. Works like a check, only better.
The Atlanta Falcons take on the New York Giants on ESPN Sunday Night Football.
I have to tell you something. This Giants team impresses me.
Why? Why do you have to tell me this? Are you a football scout?
I was in the Scouts. I have an appreciation for the way they play the game.
No one cares.
You sell cookies? As a fan. I got trouble with cookies. I appreciate the Giants as a fan. I have the right to appreciate the Giants, don't I?
ESPN Sunday Night Football. Falcons, Giants.
He was in the Scouts.
Passion Players continues with the Packers' legendary lineman, Jerry Kramer.
The glory days of Vince Lombardi's Packers are forever etched in the memories of Green Bay fans. And thanks to the eloquent prose of a lineman turned author named Jerry Kramer, those championship seasons live on. The pages of distant replay are filled with words and images of snow-laden fields and proud men who covered themselves with equal amounts of mud and glory. Distant replay is also the saga of a talented guard who revolutionized his position by combining considerable brawn with brains.
Jerry, I think, was the thinking guard. Don't misinterpret that. He was physically very tough, but Jerry was smart. He could work his way out of problems because he was able to think quickly on his feet.
We were a running team. I think that's what made the Green Bay Packers our running game. I enjoyed the drive block, and I enjoyed the sweep. The sweep was something we would finish up with every day. A lot of teams run wind sprints at the end of a day. We would run sweeps.
If you look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here, and try to run this play in the alley.
The power sweep was a personal favorite of Vince Lombardi. He saw to it the Packers performed it with perfection. Ironically, it was Lombardi's legendary pursuit of excellence that helped elevate Kramer's overall game, despite the stubborn lineman's original doubts to the contrary.
I resented him a great deal in the early years. I thought he was a little too demanding, a little too pushy. I thought he was asking for things that I wasn't capable of delivering. But later on, when I began to push myself, when I began to have my own personal quest, then I began to understand what he was really talking about.
Under Lombardi's influence, Kramer pushed himself to a level that often saw him making 2 blocks on a single play. Yet, just as he reached his peak, he was struck down by a mysterious illness that stemmed from a boyhood accident when several wood splinters were lodged in his intestine. First diagnosed as cancer, it threatened more than just a career.
I ended up in Mayo Clinic. It went down to about 200 pounds, 198 maybe, and thought I was going to die.
On the field for about 10 minutes, there was like guys going up to each other saying that somebody said Jerry Kramer had actually died. It was just that serious that we had heard.
I looked out the window and thought about taking that route, and I figured that I'd just break myself up into a bunch of pieces and wouldn't do the job completely. So I went home to Green Bay just before Christmas time, and Henry Jordan came out to the airport, picked me up, and literally picked me up in his arms. He got me in his arms from the airport and carried me over to the car and set me down and carried me in the house. And of course, I recovered from that and ended up being able to play 2 or 3 more years, but it was quite an experience.
Kramer's close brush with death is perhaps why he is modest when speaking of accomplishments. But they went far beyond perfecting the power sweep. In the 1962 NFL Championship, Kramer filled in as a kicker and booted Green Bay to victory. And in 1967, he threw what is considered the greatest block in NFL history, springing Bart Starr for the game winner in a last-second championship victory over Dallas.
I don't remember the games specifically. I remember a few highlights, a few moments, and a few situations, but generally it's just that warm love affair I had with 40 guys. A warm, rich relationship, kind of like a family, kind of like there were 40 brothers on that football team, and I cherish that probably above all else.
Zero to your heart in 1 second flat. The Audi A6.
Whether it's on the network or the net, it's ESPN. Log on to ESPN.com. It's your gateway to sports on the internet. Get a total fix anytime you log on. Plus, read Vitale, Gammons, Mortensen. Get scores, updates, breaking news, and get smart fast. ESPN.com. Log on today.
And now, Passion Players presents the remarkable story of tailback Eddie George.
He is so physically imposing that even those who see players up close are in awe.
Eddie George is the man now, I'm telling you, and he's determined.
Eddie George was destined to become one of the strongest running backs in the NFL.
Oh, my goodness, what a great job by Eddie George.
Because this muscle man started out as one tough baby.
When he was born, I have pictures of him showing his strength. He comes out with his fist balled. And I thought it was more like being a stingy child, but no, it was more of strength. As he was growing up in Philadelphia, I have shots of him showing that he was the mighty man. Right about when he was about 5 years old, he had an interest in football. And I thought it was just too young for him to be involved.
She didn't want me to play because it was a physical sport.
And I was always scared that you're going to break a arm, break a leg.
She still looked at me as her little baby. So it took me a long time before I ever seen the football field.
It was always this nagging, Mom, can I try the football? And I'm saying, no, Eddie. For 4 years, he played the soccer, the baseball, the basketball. He was drinking his milk, eating his broccoli, keeping his room clean, you know, anything for football. Family events, family reunions. he would carry a football. He really became very obsessed. So finally, I gave him the chance.
And he broke his arm in his first practice, but he persevered. And even his mom was thrilled to finally see him in pads.
Well, son, you look very pleased. You finally made your way in this football thing after nagging me for the last 4 years. 1984 Love Mom. So this is basically his Heisman pose. Now, I never knew about the Heisman, but this little boy did.
I said, hey, why can't I win it? You know, I used to see the Heisman Trophy presentation every year, you know, when I was growing up, and I would make up little speeches that I would say, Lord would think.
He had a dream, and for all the trials and tribulations his mom was putting him through, he was going to show me that I can play football. And what he would do is stand in front of a mirror and say, well, when I win this one day, this is how I'm going to give my speech. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for giving me this Heisman Trophy. Yeah, right, Eddie. Okay. Keep dreaming. You'll get there one day.
And now, on behalf of the officers and governors and members of the Downtown Athletic Club, it is my pleasure to announce the winner, Eddie George.
Eddie George won the Heisman wearing an Ohio State uniform. But he would not have realized his dream had his mother not forced him to wear another type of uniform when he was 15 years old.
He wanted to be this big-time job without education. I'm saying, Eddie, it's not going to work. If you don't have the education along with your talent, you're not going to get to college. It didn't sink in, not until he woke up one morning in August and he was at Fort Union Military Academy.
She sent me because I didn't have any discipline whatsoever. I lacked discipline in the classroom. I talked a good game of, well, yeah, you know, education is this and that, whatever, but I wasn't doing anything about it. Whereas when I went to Fort Union, I realized the only way for me to succeed in life is through hard work and dedication. Basically, just install discipline in me to go out and make decisions for myself and to take control over my life.
Eddie's running style reflected military life. He marched into end zones. But his biggest critic felt his running was too regimented.
I would critique him. I said, your feet are just flat, you're running flat. I said, you should learn how to tiptoe, or that's how you can get extra yardage. And he's saying, well, how can I do that? So I said, let's take some jazz classes. Let's take some ballet classes. Oh, no, that's for sissies. I said, it's not. So when he would come in for a holiday break, he would take a class with me. What was strange, one classmate of ours, she walks up to me one day and she says, oh, did you see that hunk walk in here? And I says, yeah. Don't you think he's great? I says, yeah. I wish I knew his name. I said, well, I've been knowing him for 16 years, all right? Now, this girl was about maybe 19. And she says, oh, really? I says, yeah. She says, for 16 years? I said, yeah, he's my son. She says, oh, my God. Every time I would say, point those toes, those toes were being pointed.
From head to toe, Eddie was pointed in the right direction. And though the teams and the towns have changed, and Eddie is now with the Oilers, the one constant in his life has been his mother. She's watched over him as only a mother could. She's been to every game he's played in since his days at Fort Union. She even rearranged her work schedule as a flight attendant to watch him sign his first contract. If she hadn't, she would have been working on TWA Flight 800, which crashed off Long Island.
It was very hard on her, and I guess she had a new perspective on life, just live life to the fullest and not be afraid to experience anything in life.
It made us a little bit more closer and loving and caring.
She's been a strong cornerstone in my life. She's the anchor in my life. She's not only my mom, but my best friend.
I'm honored to be a person of so many characters in my son's eyes. You know, to be the friend, to be the confidant, to be the person to give him direction. we're like a team. We get a lot of things accomplished and goals being fulfilled. Having me a part of it, I just am so honored.
My job is to compare products. And it's not often that I'm surprised. So when Head & Shoulders went up against the leading prescription brand, I expected the prescription to be better, but it isn't. A study proves Head & Shoulders is effective against dandruff. I found out there's a microscopic fungus associated with dandruff, and Head & Shoulders helps kill it. Helps stop flakes before they even start. Not even the expensive prescription works better. You may never see flakes again. I don't.
The very first time I drove a truck, I was a driver helper. Somebody called in sick, and the dispatcher came out and asked me if he thought I could drive the truck. I was so scared when I got out in downtown on the hills, trying to work the clutch. You got, I don't know how many tons behind me, and trucks rolling back, and it takes time to learn, but once you get it, I mean, it's like driving a car. I prefer driving my truck over my car.
What scares you? The darkness, the unknown, or the sound of your very last breath?
Well, hello, Dolly.
This Halloween, Chucky gets lucky. Bride of Chucky, rated R. Starts Friday, October 16th at theaters everywhere.
In racing, there are no second chances. You blink, you lose. You win. It's a rush. Split Fire, the choice of NHRA Winston Pro Stock champion Jim Yates, because performance is everything.
Split Bar Spark Plug. What a rush!
Whether you're cleaning up around your new townhouse or your old brownstone, visit the folks in a red vest. They'll help you find everything you need to get your house ready for the change of season. Because Ace is a place for the helpful hardware folks.
Jack Youngblood had a standout career as a defensive end for the Los Angeles Rams. And even though he was the anchor of a defense that helped the Rams win 7 division titles, he's best known for his heroic performance in Super Bowl 14, where he played the entire game with a broken bone in his leg. While Youngblood's stellar career never was rewarded with a Super Bowl championship, no one will contest his status as one of the great passion players of the NFL.
Los Angeles in the 1970s was the wrong city and the wrong decade for a backward young man from a backwater town in Florida. This psychedelic city of freeways, free spirits, and free love was a bad trip for Jack Youngblood.
When I came to Los Angeles, it was a horrifying experience. I was supposed to stay for like 3 days. I jumped on the plane after the second day, left. Could not stand this place. Was totally petrified. I'd never seen that many people in my entire life.
61. But the scariest thing was how easily the rookie defensive end was flattened. He made uncountable mistakes until pass rushing became as simple as 1, 2, 3.
Speed, quickness, and finesse. Knowing your game, knowing what to do to instantaneously be able to react to what a larger man's going to do to you.
A lot of people never knew how light Jack was towards the end of a football season. If you played against Jack in December, he was down to 237 pounds. And here's a guy that played every down. We're not talking about one of these designated guys. We're talking about a guy that would stand in there and take on an offensive tackle.
Jack Youngblood is one of the greatest people I've ever known to have on your ball club when things are going bad, because he will pick you back up. He'll turn you around and won't let your players get down.
Although he was a man of action, his bark was as bad as his bite.
Jack talks all football game. I mean, the guy never shuts up. And he goes into this falsetto voice when he gets excited. It would break glass. Jimmy Hart was our quarterback. It was my job to protect Jimmy. And all game long, whenever I'm blocking Jack, Jack would be going, Jimmy, 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 here I come, Jimmy.
He was the John Wayne of pro football, Hollywood handsome, cowboy tough. He played muddied and bloodied, and won the Red Badge of Courage for enduring more than his share of pain on this battlefield.
I thought I'd been bitten by a spider, and I just had some swelling in the arm. The third day comes along, and it's getting rather bothersome, a nuisance. Couldn't bend my fingers, couldn't put my watch on, things like that. There were indications that something might not be quite right. So I go in, the trainer looks at it, he almost faints. So at that, I'm saying to myself, something is bad wrong here. He jumps on his phone, they call the doctors, one thing leads to another. I'm in the hospital that evening in emergency surgery. And they open me up and pull out this foot-long hot dog.
In a playoff game at Texas Stadium, Youngblood's right leg was caught in a cowboy vice and snapped.
Hurt. It was swollen, and you could feel the knot. You could feel whether the leg had been broken. The doctors are all looking at it, and they're feeling it, and they're going, no, 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 you can't do this. I said, tape the thing up, and we'll worry about it when the game's over. Win, lose, or draw, then that's the time to worry about it. You can't worry about it now. I can still walk on it, and still run. Tape it up, give me 2 more aspirin, and let's go play.
Youngblood returned, and with him came victory. The next week, number 85 was knocked down. But it was the Buccaneers who were knocked out of the NFC Championship. He played his 3rd game on a broken leg in the Super Bowl.
It was my responsibility to be an inspirational player, play by example.
Even in defeat, he played with the style that made him a star, and the toughness that made him a hero.
I don't consider myself tough. I consider myself a nut sometimes for some of the things I did. If I could have done anything any different, it would be that I would still be able to play. I loved it. It was so thrilling that I didn't want to miss 1 minute of it.
Nothing, absolutely nothing can stop your cable company from being on time. Well, practically nothing. Because no matter what life throws at us, we're on time for installations, or they're free. And we're on time for service appointments, or you get $20 guaranteed.
Hey, you're right on time.
Or wouldn't that be? Too bad everything's not guaranteed like cable service.
Let's go. To avoid salesmen, some people shop after car dealers are closed.
Did you hear that?
Or so they thought.
That's my sale.
Customers on the lot. Customers on the lot.
Tired of high-pressure sales tactics? Come to Bettenhausen Dodge. Our cars and trucks are marked with one low price, and we don't have any salespeople. There are car dealers. Then there's Bettenhausen Dodge. One price, no salespeople.
Old school is vintage. And Pelo's teenage genius does the rest. The red, white, and blue ball, that's old school. Roberto Clemente. It's gone for a home run for Roberto.
I'm old school, Mike Singletary's eyes.
Fair Five is old school. Push 917.
Jackie Robinson.
Twilight doubleheader.
Walter Payton. JoJo White. That's old school.
Joe Frazier, old school. An explosive left to the jaw, and Muhammad Ali goes down.
All right, dude, you want to be old school? Call the number.
Passion Players returns with one-of-a-kind, quarterback Billy Kilmer.
In the summer of 1971, the Washington Redskins acquired a forgotten journeyman quarterback named Billy Kilmer. With Sonny Jurgensen firmly established as Washington's starting quarterback, Kilmer's future looked no different than his past. For 10 years, he had known only discouragement, frustration, and misfortune. 10 years before, in 1961, Billy Kilmer, number 17, was a first-round draft choice of the San Francisco 49ers. But his promising debut was cut short when his legs were crushed in a nearly fatal car accident. Doctors told him that he would never play football again. But after a year and a half of determined rehabilitation, Kilmer returned to the 49ers. He never fulfilled the promise of his rookie year, however. And in 1967, he was sent to the New Orleans Saints in the expansion draft. For 4 years, Kilmer played valiantly for the worst team in the NFL. He was not always the best of quarterbacks, but he was the best of men, unafraid of failure and strong enough to assume the responsibility of defeat.
I'm sorry, Jim. Keep looking on 72. Geez, I just went blank, that's all. Gosh, darn it. I can't do nothing right.
In 1969, Kilmer suffered another setback. He was benched and replaced by Ed Hargett. In 1971, he was traded to Washington, where George Allen planned to use him as a backup for Sonny Jurgensen. But Allen's plan had to be revised when Jurgensen was injured.
We have a lot of bumps and bruises, but all of this can help make us stronger. We got a guy like Billy Kilmer can come in and lead the team and help us, and that's what we want.
Kilmer had neither the arm nor the easy grace of Sonny Jurgensen, but he had a sense of daring and bravado which he was able to communicate to his coach as well as his teammates.
Here's what my policy is usually to go for 3 points. How close are we to a touchdown? About an inch. Is that right? That's all. That's it.
We're gonna go for it. Go for it.
All of this is guts down here.
With Kilmer leading the way, the surprising Redskins made the playoffs for the first time in 26 years. And Kilmer was chosen the team's most valuable player.
Listen up. Give this game ball to a guy, I tell you, that did a hell of a job today. He broke right out of that stuff and came out and led us right to leadership. Give him the ball. This ball goes to Billy Kilmer because he...
For 6 years, Billy Kilmer directed Washington's offense. 5 times he led the Redskins to the playoffs, and once to the Super Bowl. Within each victory, there were harsh reminders of Kilmer's past. But as always, he eventually conquered both pain and adversity. Kilmer's character was as strong and resilient as his body, and his career became proof that persistence and courage can produce the same results as great talent.
I think the guy that should get the game ball is Bubba Tyer. He stopped, this thing was bleeding so bad and blood was in my eyes and in my mouth, and I told him, I said, you got to stop this bleeding. And he went over there, he was better than any cut man in pro boxing. He got that thing all stopped up, and from there it was just a matter of picking out the right guy, that's all.
As long as football remains a game of heart as well as speed and skill, Billy Kilmer will always be remembered as one of the best ever.
Goes where you want it, stays where you put it. The flexible shower massage from Teledyne Waterpick.
What's the matter, clown boy? You need to make a call, but you don't have the change. Just use 1-800-COLLECT. Go ahead, make some calls. You'll save a bundle. That's great. Mine's 1-800-COLLECT. 10 cents a minute every evening.
If I said you could get your hair back free, get up to 65% off on major hotels plus special discounts in American Airlines, you'd probably think I was kidding. Well, guess what? I'm dead serious. If you call 1-800-HAIR-CLUB now, we'll send you our free brochure. We're not about drugs or surgery. We're about adding real hair in with your own without surgery. So call 1-800-HAIR-CLUB now for your free brochure. Free hair, and for limited time, up to 65% off major hotels and special discounts in American Airlines. 1-800-HAIR-CLUB.
College Football Saturday. First at noon, Northwestern Iowa.
With his size and speed, wide receiver Dwayne Bates is one of the best receivers in the entire country.
At 5:30, Cincinnati, Syracuse.
Syracuse offense, McNabb, the Spotwood, the Johnson. Whoa, they're going to score a lot of points.
Then at 8:30,
it's Wisconsin's big guy, Ron Dane, against Purdue's high-powered offense.
Northwestern Iowa at noon. Cincinnati, Syracuse at 5:30. Purdue, Wisconsin at 8:30. Saturday on ESPN2.
Welcome back to Passion Players. Next up, Chicago's Ed O'Bradovich.
The words used to describe Ed O'Bradovich, number 87, were always the same. Wild, tough, relentless. And although there was no disputing their accuracy, it was easy to wonder if they went far enough. Because the career of Ed O'Bradovich was always filled with trouble. First, there was the trouble he created for quarterbacks, attacking their blockers and eliminating their potential receivers at the same time. Then there was the trouble he made for himself with his fiery temper. His personality ran on iron rails, and once the track was chosen, there was no way to swerve or go back.
Ed was always wild, volatile. He's like World War III walking down the street. He could go off anytime.
OB, that crazy son of a gun, I'm going to tell you what. When I first got to the Bears, there wasn't enough whiskey in Chicago to feed him.
Before kickoff, OB was a friendly sort, but once the game began, he became a heavy-duty hitman. He was a player without much subtlety in a time that demanded even less.
I think in the years that I played, there were some guys that were really, you like to catch them, in the bar afterwards or somewhere, and say, now that you're facing me, pal, how tough are you? The gratifying thing about it is when you can get to the quarterback. And those were some other people I didn't like. At the time, I'm making 10.5, and these guys are making 105, and you just, you had a great hate for them.
On running plays, The Bears' defense was designed for Obradovich to occupy as many blockers as possible. So the middle linebacker, Dick Butkus, number 51, could flow unencumbered to make the tackle.
I'm stringing this play out like I'm supposed to do. Lo and behold, unbeknownst to me, who's right behind me is Butkus, the monster. I'm getting the hell beat out of me going along the way, and he makes the tackle right at the end, just before the guy goes out of line and kills him. And I'll never forget it. And Abe Gibran was one of our defensive coaches, and he says, for sake, Obradovich, take a look at yourself. You're upside down on the ground. Butkus, great job. I thought to myself, oh, I'll be damned. I take out 4 guys, he makes the tackle, never got touched.
We'd be watching movies, and he'd be getting up and his helmet would be sideways, and he took out about 3 guys, and he says, way to fight off the blockers, Dick. I'd be getting up off the tackle, and no one was there because he took on everybody.
Whenever I made a tackle, which was few and far between, I remember Dick saying, hold him up, hold him up. You know, because he wanted to come in and really cracking me on. I'm saying, hold him up, for sake, I'm hanging on. The hell do you mean, hold him up? You know, what, make you look like a hero?
Ed Obradovich traded macho for manners and sweat for polish. He was a high-octane mixture of cussin' and fussin', but his tank was never empty.
When you teed it up, as they say, on Sunday afternoon, well, you could count on OB, because he was there to play, and he would be there till the last dog was hung. That's a hell of a man, Ed Obradovich.
Pro football is a game.
And now, on NFL's greatest moments, a look at a man who has been one of the NFL's premier running backs for 14 seasons.
Marcus Allen has long electrified the game he loves with spectacular performances, such as the one he turned in during Super Bowl 18. In just his second pro season, Allen secured his reputation as one of the NFL's premier running backs by rushing for 191 yards.